yeah, I think that's one of my strengths, is to find those creative exit strategies on every project that I do. Or rather, not every project that I do, but like over the last few years, like I've been able to come up with some crazy exit strategies for the homes that I bought. Initially, like I did about 35 flips, and I didn't have any creative exit strategy. I would buy a home, I would flip it, and I would sell it. Like I wouldn't look at lot value, I wouldn't look at income, like additional income potential, none of that, right? Like which is so sad, because if I had always had this mindset, then I could have done some really crazy deals even in the beginning of my career.
Welcome to the Ask Me How I Know show. I'm your host, Julie Holly, and I'm so excited you're here. Ask Me How I Know is the only podcast in the multifamily niche replicating what takes place outside the walls of a seminar. Remember when we used to get together like that? This is like the lobby where honest, unscripted conversations take place and transformation happens. We'll talk about practical problem solving in the multifamily niche, as well as overcoming mental roadblocks. This episode is brought to you by 3 Keys Investments. 3 Keys Investments is dedicated to helping people like you, you, enter the multifamily investment space to build passive income and legacy wealth. If you haven't already subscribed and reviewed Ask Me How I Know, I'd be honored if you did. Thanks so much for joining me today. And now for our featured guest.
Hey guys, welcome back to Ask Me How I Know. I am so excited to share this space with one of my favorite people that I met over on LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn. I meet awesome people like you, Leka. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Julie. You are just such a breath of fresh air, and I love being here, and I'm excited for this.
That's so funny, because I was literally like, that's how I feel about you. Like every time we're in a little network room or something together, I'm just like, you're just so full of life and so fun, and and have so many amazing ideas. I just can't get over it. You have one of the most creative minds in the industry that I know.
Oh, thank you. That means so much.
It's legit. Okay, because here you are, this adorable woman, and you have all these roles. And this is funny. I just told you that I don't do like these introductions, but I just have to highlight the fact that you worked, you were at corporate for Nordstrom, which that's just super fun right there.
Yeah.
And then you are in real estate and just rocking every bit of it and reinventing yourself left and right. And then now you're an author. Like, I'm just thinking, you are kind of like the Madonna of, the real estate niche, just
Oh my God.
reinventing yourself.
Can I just tell you that I'm just gonna tape that, and wherever I go, I'm gonna play it in the background, because that was like the best introduction ever.
Well, you are absolutely amazing. And it's like, people that know me know that, I might have my own differences with like Madonna and stuff, but I love how she has reinvented herself over the years. And I really actually look to that as like an inspiration of, you can't stay stagnant in life. You have to
Right.
constantly be becoming the next version of yourself. And how is it that you are able to, what pushes you to do that?
Yeah, I am so glad you said that, because for me, a constant is boring. It's like, what can I do next to push myself way out of my comfort zone, then get comfortable, and then push myself again? So I think the core qualities that, your intrinsic qualities are what pushes you. And basically you can take anything. Back home in India, I was an entrepreneur. I worked at a fashion retail company, and then I just gave it my best. I gave it everything I knew, and then I learned some more, and I gave it everything I had. And then when I moved here, it was the same deal. I worked at Nordstrom. I didn't have any background in fashion, merchandising, or retail in this country at all. But what I could do is just give it my best. And that's what I did. And then when I realized that, I was just wanting to do more and learn a new industry, I jumped to real estate, and same deal. I was like, the only thing you can do is do your best. And that's pretty much like what I do. And I feel like most people that have kind of been able to Remove boundaries will tell you the same thing, that all you can do is do your best, right? Reach out to people that are doing it better than you, and then just keep trying to push yourself forward.
It's just inspirational. How do you live? So you and I are kindred spirits in this regard, because I like to push myself. One of the things that I face is it good enough? Like, and I have to say, well, did I do my best? Like, I can only do my best. But how do you live outside your comfort zone? A lot of people, that is where they are stuck. And so maybe you have some advice based off of your experience.
I try and network with different people, different types of people doing different types of things. Because it's easy for me, like I started with fix and flip, right? Like it's easy for me to just live in that area. But then you kind of get complacent. And that's the one thing that scares me more than anything else is, to be stagnant and complacent. So then I was like, okay, what other cool things are people doing? And the more you put yourself out there, the more networking events you attend, the more different kinds of people you meet. You just have different, more better and wider perspectives. And then what do you do with a new perspective, right? Like that's awesome. Because if new perspectives like excite you, then that's when you're going to go and you're going to see how you can push yourself, to do something better and bigger than what you just did.
It's so true. And that idea of, I know when I'm around, and I mean, like the conversations I've had with you, we've had a few, and every time I walk away with something else thinking like, could I do that? That's interesting. That's a totally different way of looking at it. It definitely expands your horizons and your ideas of things.
It does. And I am an avid traveler, pre-COVID, that is. Um, and it's funny, like every new country that I go to, you just gain new perspective, right? You meet the local people and you're just like, wow, that's a new way of living, that you weren't privy to before. And I feel like, life is the same way, like in terms of your career too, is when you go out and you meet people like when I met you and you're doing multifamily investing and syndications, and I'm like, wow, like I want to learn to do that. So for me, it's all about like looking for opportunity and looking for the good people to associate myself with in whatever opportunities I'm interested in.
There's a lot of truth to that. Yeah, I always look for the best, like, okay, who's the safe person to work with? Who has
Right.
integrity? And who would be fun?
Exactly.
I always,
Yeah.
I won't lie, I always add fun into it. I'm like, work should be fun. It's
Work.
work, but it can be really fun with the right people.
Exactly. And like coming from just having bad experiences with contractors or lenders or like just bad partners, you kind of try to shield yourself from that, right? Like you are constantly, now I have a different way of like finding my partners or contractors. Like I only go off of word of mouth, right? Someone needs to have a good track record, otherwise I'm never associating with. I don't want to be the one to give someone their track record.
Right.
Selfishly.
Right. You were talking about you've had some bad experiences. How can you share one of those, like, oh my gosh, experiences, and what did you do about it?
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to a contractor that I met a few years ago who, like, I met him at a networking event. Everyone, like, you say word of mouth, but everybody had the best things to say about him. But here's the kicker is that he had never worked with any of them. He had just networked with them and had built this like reputation of being legit, but really there was no substance to it. So I fell for that. And I kept asking him for his like prior experience or projects that he had done. And he kept pushing that off. And I still like, I was desperate to find someone to work on this house. And so ended up going with him. 6 months go by and a lot of money that he took from me. And then later I find that everything that was done in the house by his crew was jerry rigged. They were not even like legitimate workers. The city got involved, like to the point where he had tried to dupe me and a lot of the other investors in the Seattle market, that he had to literally leave the state and move states because he had basically been a fraud, and we had caught wind of that. um, so that experience teaches you a thing or two about how not to hire someone, right? So I think that was like my scariest experience, which is in terms of finding people to work with.
That's intense. That
Yeah.
is, and that's, I mean, that's 6 months. Well, and prior to that, you're trying to find someone. So now you have this just elongated headache, this pain in your life that you're like, wait, this is supposed to be the solution. Come on.
Exactly. So a project that should have taken me about 2 months took me a year.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Did you end up losing out on it? I'm sure if I were listening,
Yeah.
this would be a question I'd have. I'd be like, how bad did that hurt financially, or
Oh
did
yeah,
it
I
break
lost
even?
about 25 grand on this project. It was just basically one mistake after another that the contractor made, that I made. I'll completely own it. And then it's not just that, like we listed the house on the market, there was a burglary and someone took all our appliances. Then the
Oh,
landscaper left the water on for too long and it
you're
seeped under
kidding.
the house. And then we had like full mold under, like in the basement from the water that came through from the landscaper. Like it was just like horrible. Like one thing led to another, to another, to another. And boy, like this house was haunted. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh my gosh, that's a total series of unfortunate events. I
Yeah.
don't know if you caught it. I put a clip up of Kelly Stinson yesterday, and she's, the quote, the potty princess. And she was talking about a property where the maintenance person had left the hose on in the swimming pool, and it had been, I mean, just overflowing for, who knows how long, the trip to the sensor. Yeah. So, I mean, like people, it's true, like water gets left on at properties.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So now I'm like, if my landscaper left the landscaping, like the sprinkler system on, like I always got to check to see that it's not hitting the house, right? It's like the
Right.
silly things that you learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, pain will teach you a lot, right?
A lot.
Like a whole lot. You
Right.
you were in, I hope I'm recalling correctly. You're in Seattle, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. This is interesting. And I was wondering, you can speak firsthand to this about like the risks and the rewards. I know I come from California, and it's not a place that is very investor friendly. And my perception is that Seattle is very similar. And are you investing in the Seattle, or have you invested in the Seattle market?
Yeah, actually, it's funny because all of my rentals are in Seattle. All of my fix and flip properties all in the Seattle market. So yes, I am a Seattle investor. I don't know if Seattle is not investor friendly. I think we have a great, first of all, we have an amazing community here of investors. Everybody has just an open, mindset. Everybody's about helping everyone else. So
Oh,
that's
nice.
kind of cool. We're not a very landlord friendly city, that I'll tell you. Our city council is not, very landlord friendly. So like right now we have an eviction moratorium that basically goes on till March 2021, and started earlier this year. So that can just crush landlords if they have the wrong tenant in place or they're not able to rent to the right person. So it's not landlord friendly, but it's very investor friendly. Also, I think investors are such an integral part to the Seattle market because we have no inventory. So, especially if you're in fix and flip, or you're a builder, you are responsible for adding inventory back into the market where there is none. So, we're actually quite an integral, essential part of the community.
That is such an insight, I think, for a lot of people who are on the outside, and it just allows us to see that oh, maybe it's not so scary. And actually, it serves such a powerful purpose. And that is really what you did with the fix and flips, right? You basically
Right.
repurposed homes. And do you want to, can you share a little bit about that and how it served the community?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would buy super distressed homes, like homes, and I didn't do cosmetic remodels. I still don't do cosmetic. Mine are mostly down to the studs, like crazy remodels that each cost over 175 to 200K to fix up. Um, on a single family home, like that's a lot of money. So basically, what I do is I take homes that are like completely distressed, hoarder homes, homes, where the foundation is like cracked or falling off a cliff. So like really bad homes in good communities, in good school districts, and I put them back. So like right in my neighborhood in Redmond, there was a home that was owned by an elderly couple, and they became medically very disabled and they couldn't go up and down stairs. So for years, they just let it be. Like they just left all their stuff everywhere. Their like medical needles were everywhere. Like it was just like a
Oh,
really
wow.
bad, like, oh my God, the before after photos of this home, like incredible. So just like a really, it was a really bad home, distressed home in a really nice neighborhood. So when I took it, and just like my trash guys were out there taking the trash out, people from the neighborhood stopped by to say thank you. So, it's like, what can we do to change the community, even if it's one house at a time?
I just absolutely love that. It's because that's how I really look at all facets of real estate as that opportunity. It serves everyone on every level. That's what draws me so intensely to it, is that, not only do investors win or homeowners win or residents win, but the community wins, and those neighbors win. And then those kids in that neighborhood get to see something, and it sets this role model and standard. And
Right.
it spreads
Exactly.
such a ripple of awesome good.
Yeah, exactly.
It really
Exactly.
does. Now, you were mentioning that, so as an investor, like working in the Seattle market is investor friendly, um, but not necessarily landlord friendly. How is it that you navigate that? Because you do have a nice portfolio there. How do you navigate those waters successfully? Because
Yeah.
ultimately, they need rentals. Rentals are necessary, so we have to have landlords. So,
Yeah. Um, I typically buy my rentals in like a class B to B minus neighborhood. So the people that I rent to are like techies or, middle income, but solid professional workers. I think that's the one way that we're able to keep tenants in place. I do have some projects or homes that are like a lower, like C or D class. And, we did get hit with one or two people not paying rent. But as long as I'm able to, I don't mind that. This is not me coming from an investor standpoint. This is just like coming from a humanitarian standpoint, I want to say is I'm okay, as long as I can pay the rent, to pay the rent for these people. um i, I just don't see a lot of people being able to sustain that,
yeah.
which is really sad. And that's why, we're expecting so many foreclosures and mortgage defaults. But it's not, it hasn't been too bad for me.
That's I appreciate the humanitarian perspective on that. And that's what I think people are losing sight of, is through the moratoriums that have been extended in different, places, parts of our country, is it's affecting everybody in a different way. And the hearts are there, but you have to have the ability to act on on that. And like you said, some people aren't, just by nature of how the property is
Yeah.
being held. So
Yeah.
that's absolutely amazing. What do you think? Crystal ball moment.
Yes.
Because I am like you, I'm so curious, and I'd love to have your opinion. Like opinions are really fun, but what is your opinion going forward with the Seattle market? What does that look like? Do you think there will just be a lot of foreclosures coming up, and what opportunity how are you positioning yourself if you see that opportunity?
Yeah. I don't know in our market if there's going to be a lot of foreclosures because we just, you know, our market grew 35% because we're tech heavy. So I do see some foreclosures coming, from landlords not being able to make their payments, just from people losing their jobs, which is so unfortunate. I do see some foreclosures, but I don't see a lot. In terms of just inventory, I think we're going to struggle to find homes for buyers because right now we are way beyond behind the curve that we were in even last year. We have zero point 0.8 months of supply, which is nothing.
That is
um,
nothing.
which is absolutely nothing, which is really sad, because I think a lot of sellers have held back on selling because then where would they go? They can't find a home to go to.
Yep.
Plus, with COVID, people don't want to take the risk of moving at this point, right? Plus, people don't want to live in condos, which means that they're looking for single family homes, which means there's a bigger buyer pool. So I just think that it's going to take us a few months to correct and kind of balance, if that is even a possibility. But I think we're going to struggle with new inventory. But that's why it's so important for investors to keep flipping homes and putting and building homes to go put out there.
That's a really good perspective. And, most people listening are going to understand. I have an audience that's becoming a little bit split between investors that are active and people that are passive. And if you're a passive investor, a nice real estate inventory is really important to keep the momentum of a market. So if you have nothing for sale, if you have zero supply, basically, right, zero inventory, that's very, very difficult.
Very difficult.
So this is hilarious because I had a few things that I was like, oh my gosh, Leka's going to be on here. I'm going to ask her all these things. and yet I've allowed my curiosity to get the best of me because you are so fascinating and you have so much knowledge and experience and expertise. I'm wondering if you would tell us about the most creative exit strategy that you've had. Because a lot of people can see, okay, I finally figured out how to get into this property. I see my investment opportunity. And then they stop and it's like, I don't know how to get out of it.
Yeah. So I think that's one of my strengths is to find those creative exit strategies on every project that I do. Or rather not every project that I do, but like over the last few years, like I've been able to come up with some crazy exit strategies for the homes that I bought. Initially, like I did about 35 flips and I didn't have any creative exit strategy. I would buy a home, I would flip it, and I would sell it. Like I wouldn't look at lot value. I wouldn't look at income, like additional income potential, none of that, right? Like, which is so sad because if I had always had this mindset, then I could have done some really crazy deals even in the beginning of my career. But anyway, long story short, like I did end up buying a home in 2017. And this is the craziest exit strategy I've had. I bought a home in 2017. It was just a good old fix and flip. I was going to put it back on the market in a couple months and, make about 50 grand in profit. And that was that. Instead, what happened was I started to subdivide the lot. It took me 3.5 years, but I was able to take this one single family home, split the lot into 3 parcels, still fix up the home, rent it out. So the rent covered my mortgage. So I didn't really have to pay anything out of pocket to keep this deal alive. Meanwhile, what I did was I subdivided the lot. I added utilities. So all new water, sewer, electricity, gas, and created space for 2 additional single family homes. Now, the reason was so lucrative is that homes in this area sell for 1.5 million. So I could sell my lots for 400 to 500K a piece. The home itself that I fixed up is now worth about $1 million. So my total profit on this project would be $1 million. So that was, taking something that was so basic and making it anything but basic. but it also
Wow.
took me like 3.5 years to do this. So, people, it all has to fall in place. People may not have the time, might not have the capital. But if you can get your ducks in a row, then amazing things are possible.
Now, did you just have this aha moment? You're staring at the property, or how did you even make this next step?
Yeah. So every time I buy a deal, I do a neighborhood like drive around. So I was driving around my property the day after I closed on the deal. And my neighbor's lot had this huge plaque that said that the land was being subdivided. And so, when I was like, their lot is smaller than mine. So I literally like ran to the city and I was like, hey, city, like, can I subdivide my lot? And so the city looked at my plans. They said yes, because I didn't have any like environmentally critical areas or wetlands or anything. So it's just a very easy lot to subdivide. But also, this is a little bit of luck because there was no utilities on that street except for the city water. The land was on septic. So I also found out that right behind my lot, a huge builder was putting in 30 homes and they were like platting that lot. So they were going to bring all the utilities for that lot. So I could just easily draw from them and make it much more affordable, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this. So make it affordable to do my own short plat. So
That is amazing.
it was just like, it was like a lot of things have to fall in place.
Right, right. But it's one of those things where I always believe that if you live life with open hands, you can receive and you can give. And so it's almost like you're just open handing it every day, and you're driving by your property and after you close and you see this sign and you're like,
Uh-huh.
maybe, and it just shifts around. But additionally, what an amazing gift to the community.
Yeah.
And this is where I really wish I hope communities see that service that investors provide, because as you said, I mean, it wasn't like you guys had a super high inventory 3 years ago.
Right.
Right. I mean, the inventory has been short in your market for quite some time, and the need has been there. And so just by you being willing and able to
Yeah.
endure for 3.5 years actually gave 2 more families an opportunity in that area. That's
Yes.
amazing. What a
Yeah.
service.
So true. So true.
There's that humanitarian. I mean, some people look at it as like, oh, you're just this investor, but no, there's actually this huge humanitarian
Yeah.
component to this as well.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
Everybody can win. Everybody
Everybody
really
can
can.
win.
Yes. Well, let's go ahead and shift gears a little bit. And I would love to hear, you have one of the hottest books on the market right now, The Only Woman in the Room. And this is an amazing opportunity for, this book has been an amazing opportunity for the woman voice to be heard in the real estate investing niche. And your voice is heard in this book. Can you tell us a bit about how did this come about, and just give us a background of the book?
Yes. Thank you so much for bringing the book up, because it's so fulfilling to put something like this out in the universe for other women, even men, to find, um, to draw strength and inspiration from all of these other minority women. So basically, the book is compiled by my friend Ashley Wilson, who is an investor out of the Philly market. And she was at an event, I think it was Dave Van Horn's event, where they had 500 investors sitting, listening to this talk, and there was only 14 women in the group out of 500 investors. And so she looked at that and she was like, oh my gosh, like we got to get more women, like this has to be an even playing field. And so she's like, what can we do about that? And that's when this idea for putting a book together like came about. So what she did was she went across the country and she found 20 women to write 20 chapters. And these women are from all different walks of life, young, older, people that have been investing a long time, people that just started investing, people that switch careers, lots of first generation immigrants. um, so she got people like different types of people, women, to write a chapter each, showcasing their own story and talking about how they felt like they've been the only woman in the room. And so it's a pretty cool book because you just see so many different perspectives. People have been physically abused, people have come from different countries, people have not had too much money to start a business and still they did. And it's how everybody went above and beyond to crush it, to crush those limiting beliefs that you are a woman and you cannot break through an industry that is dominated by men. So it's pretty amazing.
I just absolutely love that because I mean, I have an experience working, in this niche, but I have 3 older brothers. So I was always in kind of that boy world in everything that I did for the most
Right.
part. And so in the sports I gravitated towards were like that as well. All that to say, there really is such a special spot for a book like this. And I
Yep.
think it's especially important for it would be helpful for men within the industry and even outside the industry to read this book and to understand, just to get a better feel for what is it like, because it's a very different walk. So I'm so grateful. What is outside of your chapter, which is amazing, what is one of your favorite chapters in the book?
Oh my God, there's
I
so
know
many ones to pick from.
I know
But
it's hard.
I love Anna Kelly's.
Mm.
Anna just had such a troubled childhood, and upbringing. And she has now turned that around and she has created such an amazing lifestyle for her own kids and her own family. And, she's kept her family together, unlike the way she grew up herself. So I just think hers is such an inspiring story. She, like, that story got me, man. I was like, man, this is so sad, but it's so awesome.
I mean, really kind of like a true Cinderella story, where,
It really is. It is just fascinating.
oh, I absolutely love that. Leka, I appreciate you so much in your time. Are there any other gems that you would like to, is there anything we haven't covered that you'd like to encourage the listeners with?
A lot of people either start out or give up before they even start, because of all these hurdles that they think that they need to overcome. But I say, don't look at it like that. Take it one step at a time. Find good people to surround yourselves with. Go listen to inspiring podcasts, or read books, to motivate you. And honestly, if you can keep your eye on the prize, that is the ultimate, right? Like, if you can keep your eye on the prize, you can achieve massive success, and just taking it one step at a time. So don't give up before you get started.
Oh, I love it. And most people, since I don't do a formal introduction and everything, we didn't even scratch the surface of what Leka does. Like, you just like, if people only knew she's has an investment company that she's a part of, and I mean, there are just so many different things that you are also involved in. So I highly encourage everyone, seek out other podcast episodes out there and listen to her story, because this is just a fraction of everything that she is doing out there. And I don't want to do a disservice of people not knowing that, because you are seriously extraordinary, and just so much fun to know and to see what you're doing. So.
Thank you, Julie. I feel the same way about you. I'm so glad we met.
Me
Thank you,
too.
LinkedIn.
Yes, exactly. So everybody, social media is a wonderful thing.
It's a wonderful thing.
Oh, well, Leka, thank you again. And listeners, remember, go and find your freedom.
Thanks so much for joining me for another episode of Ask Me How I Know. This episode was brought to you by 3 Keys Investments. They are dedicated to helping people like you, you, my awesome listeners, develop passive income and legacy wealth through multifamily investing. Feel free to check out their website, 3keysinvestments.com, to see if there is an offering that will help your portfolio grow and meet all of your needs. If you haven't already rated, reviewed, subscribed, liked, all of those bells and whistles, I would be absolutely honored if you would do that for Ask Me How I Know. Thanks again, and go make it a great day.